Hi guys, Diane here, your resource for all things systems and operations so that you can level up your business and live by your own rules. Today, I want to spend some time talking to you about the most common mistakes that I see when business owners are preparing to scale their business, right? So you might be at a place where your business is really successful. Your business has grown and you're at a place where you're really starting to think about you can't do it all on your own and you want to do things a little bit more smartly. You want to do things a little bit more efficiently. You're thinking about bringing on team members to help support you so that you can continue to grow and be more efficient at the same time, right? You're thinking about maybe getting some help in your team, hiring additional support. You might be thinking about changing out some of the tech tools within your business to really fit where your business has grown to. Or maybe you're thinking about changing your services and how you deliver these services all together. If you're at this place, then congratulations, because you are actually preparing your business for scale and you're thinking about all of the things that need to happen in order for your business to really be in a good spot for you to scale, right? And this can be an amazing, but also overwhelming place as a business owner, because even if you are totally clear on what you want to do, i.e. you know that you want to build systems, you know that you want to hire longer term contractors or team members, and you know that you want to really leverage your tech to support your growth. And even if you are already resourced, right, you have the team members, you've hired the consultants, you bought the programs, or your coach is working with you on it, this can still be a really, really scary place, because even though you might be going into it with your eyes wide open and thinking that you really understand what's going to happen when you scale your business, there is still a number of things that a lot of business owners overlook, right? They don't take into account when they're thinking about preparing their business for scale. And this is what these things that they overlook are really the places where you will delay your ability to scale. This is where you are going to hold yourself back. And this is where you're going to have experiences that might really negatively impact the way that you scale your business. All right. So those are the things that I'm going to go over with you today. I'm going to cover the 4 most common mistakes and, misunderstandings or places where business owners really underestimate what is going to happen when they're going to scale their business. All right. So stay tuned. So we talked about scaling your business, right? You know that you want to do it. You're at an amazing place in your business and you're ready to pull the trigger. You think you know what it takes. But there are still really some key areas where you might be underestimating what it will really take. And to avoid some really big mistakes in those areas, I'm going to go over the 4 biggest mistakes or misunderstandings or underestimations that I see business owners take when preparing to scale their business. Number 1 is really underestimating how much work it takes. Listen, preparing your business for scale is a big lift. No lie, no jokes. It is just a fact, right? It takes work to really prepare your business for scale. And the work often needs to fit in between where your business is already operating, right? So you're already operating, you already have clients, you're already doing marketing, you're already doing sales, you might already have team members, you might already have tools in process. So your preparation for scale needs to happen between all of these moving pieces within your business. To get those systems right, to get the right software, to get the right team right, it takes a certain amount of time and effort. You can definitely make it easier by having resources like me or your OBM or other people within your team supporting the process, but it is still a big lift. And don't underestimate that. Don't think that you're just going to hire all the people or you're going to hire the resources or you're going to give the project to your team and it's going to be done really easily, very smoothly. It does take time. It takes effort. And some of that effort does need to come from you. A lot of people can lead you through the process. I know that when I work with my clients, I lead them through the process. I'm going to tell them exactly what they need. And I'm going to ask them specifically for the information that I need to do my part. And I'm going to push them on the places where they need to take action or they need to make a decision. I'm going to help them through that decision-making process, but I'm also going to push them to make those decisions and to do things like review. At the end of the day, the business is still your own. So you have to take some ownership in it, right? So this is a big project. It is a big lift. And even if you are super well resourced, it does require effort on your part, right? And this can be a really big underestimation and misunderstanding when you think like, okay, I gave it to my team or I gave it to my consultant. They're going to run the whole thing. And like, you know what? I'll see you in a couple months and everything will be done. Or I'll see you tomorrow and it will be all done, right? That is a really big misunderstanding because it will require efforting on your part as well. And that efforting can be made easier by having the right resourcing, but don't think that that discounts you from any effort at all in the business, because to get all of those tools right, to get your systems right, to get your team roles, your team support formula right, to get your tech suite right, you need to actually be aligned with you and your vision and the way that you want to run your business, because it's your business at the end of the day. And all of these things that you're building as you're preparing to scale should support you and the way that you want to run your business. All right. So that is one big misunderstanding that I see a lot of business owners come up against when they're preparing their business for scaling, right? The next big misconception, so misconception number 2 about preparing your business for scaling, is underestimating the transition period, right? When you're prepping your business for scale, it isn't a magic trick. It isn't like a wish that's being granted. You're not going to blink your eyes or snap your fingers and have it magically be done. You know, there are a lot of business owners that I meet who, when we start the process, they're like, oh, I thought that I was just going to blink my eyes and all of this was going to be suddenly done and prepped for me and I'd be ready to like really start taking off, launching one after another. But preparing your business for scale means transition, right? It means that something big, something small, all of these things are all part of the transition, and it's a lot of pieces that may be transitioning within your business. The process can be really challenging because not only are you, okay, like I know that big tools need to change out, but there might be some small tweaks, right? Tweaks to the way that you do things, tweaks to the way that you are actually delivering or working with your clients or working with your team that might be jarring at first, and they will accumulate, right? So there might be in totality, a number of small tweaks that you can make, but it might feel like a big switch. It might feel as big as like a major change to one of your core software tools, right? So don't underestimate that transition period. You need to give yourself time to adapt to these new tweaks, these new changes, these new tools, these new systems, these new, maybe new team members within your business. So don't think that it's just going to be a, hey, I paid for the thing, I made the investment, I'm out of here, and you know, it'll be ready in a couple hours. It's not a pizza, it's something that takes time. And because your business is also operating at the same time, you don't want to do so much that you're totally disrupting your operations, right? Unless you go into it thinking like, hey, I'm just going to stop all business operations for the next, 2-3 months until it's done, right? So a lot of business owners are not going to do that, right? You want to run your business simultaneously while you're also preparing it for scale. So if that is the case, then you really need to be prepared for that transition period, that you have to be prepared for your business to be a little bit rocky, right? There's going to be some changes. There's going to be things that are going to feel a little bit uncomfortable while you're kind of still running. You have one foot in the old process and the old way, and you have one foot that's stepping into a new way of doing things. Be prepared for that. That will 100% happen. Also in the transition, you might be stirring up things that you didn't want to think about, projects and tasks and tools and, things about the way that you deliver. It can be a little bit uncomfortable because you might have to address things that you didn't want to think about. You might need to think about tech tools or the way that your team works or, certain team members that, you might want to, you might have had to let go of a long time ago, but you never really got around to it. Things like that will come up, a transition and the preparation of scaling your business will stir up things that you probably wanted to put out of your mind, things that you probably didn't want to deal with, things that you didn't want to address for a while, right? So you be prepared for that as well, right? Like there's going to be a transition period. It might be a little bit bumpy, and it's going to bring up things that you might not want to have addressed, or things that you're not feeling really great about, or things that you've been shying away from, like, maybe making changes to the way that you're managing your team, maybe clearly and explicitly stating what your expectations are instead of just kind of like, okay, well, we'll just kind of let it slide. Things like that will come up. So be prepared for those pieces. Be prepared for that so that it isn't a big shock to you when you're going through this process, right? And to make sure that you also get the most out of it, be prepared to transition and also feel a little bit free in it, knowing that, hey, I can just kind of say what I want. This is the perfect time for me to rip off band-aids. I find that a lot of business owners who come into it with that mindset that like, hey, this is going to be a period where I'm going to be able to like make all the changes and say all the things and do all the projects, or, change the habits that I've kind of let slide for a really long time. This is the perfect time to do that. And this is the time for you to be able to say what you want, really ask for what you need and get it, right? So be prepared for it and know that it is going to be a little bit tumultuous, all right? But tumultuous doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means that things are coming to the surface that you can then resolve and change and really update and make work for you in your own business, okay? The next piece that I see a lot of business owners underestimating is, not thinking about or underestimating the changes to your processes, right? You can prepare for scale and keep every part of your business exactly the same. Deliver exactly how you deliver right now by yourself or with a very, very lean team. However, there has to be some compromise and evolution in the way that you're doing things, because at a certain level, you will still run into a capacity cap. I see this a lot with clients who are super, super high touch or who sell very high-end VIP programs, right? You want to systemize the way that you're doing things, but you still want to touch every single client yourself. But that's not actually scalable. So understanding the client journey is really more important here than being able to touch the client, right? And that's what you're trying to systemize. What I see a lot of business owners underestimate is that they think that they're just going to systemize their exact same process as it stands today. Well, preparing your business for scale means gaining efficiencies, right? So you might need to change the way that you're delivering, how you're delivering today, so that it can be more efficient in the future, so it can be scalable, so that it is outside of just yourself. And that's where it's really important to be able to hone in on the overall end goal, or the overall journey, or the priority milestone moments within each of your functions, right? And your team or the right consultant can lead you through that, but don't think that you can keep exactly the same processes and just systemize those and expect it to be scalable. Oftentimes there are going to be places where you're going to need to adjust the way that you work or the way that you're doing things in order to really make it scalable. So be prepared for that change as well, because if you go into it thinking that, hey, I'm just going to keep everything exactly the same and we're just going to systemize it, you're going to handicap yourself, and your systems might not actually prepare you for scale. So congratulations, you just wasted a whole bunch of money systemizing things that aren't actually going to help you scale your business, right? And that's what I want you to avoid. So be prepared to adjust, tweak, change a little bit how things are happening, right? Like, I'm not saying you should just burn the whole thing down and start over, but there will be parts of your process and parts of the way that you operate that will need to change so that it is more collaborative, that you can work with other people, so that you can delegate, right? So you have to build those pieces into the process and know that that will change the process. So prepare yourself for that and keep that in mind if you're thinking about preparing your business for scaling, all right? And then another piece that I see a lot of business owners underestimate is how long it will take, right? I see, if you think that it's going to be something that's going to be done literally in an hour or tomorrow, or, you're going to have the entire business prepared for scale, systemized, all the right tools, all the right team members, everything is documented, in the next day, then see number 1 and 2. Remember, like it is a big lift. There is going to be transition. You might have to change your processes. So don't underestimate how much time it will take. A lot of times you might want to just pat yourself on the back because you like, okay, I hired the resources. I'm going to do it. And they're going to scale the business for me. I don't have to do anything. And I'm going to come back in a week after vacation and it's all going to be totally done, perfectly ready. Everyone is going to be clicking on all cylinders. And it'll be done, right? The problem with this is not only that, yes, the build period for your systems can happen relatively quickly, but you also have to take into account the integration period, the full period where it also takes you to integrate, get used to the way that things are now supposed to run, get used to working in a slightly different way, get used to maybe using different tools, like, get used to your team working in a different way, get your team used to working in a different way, right? Those all take time. Even though building the processes, documenting, putting the tools in place might not take that long, right? Those can happen relatively quickly in the scheme of things, but that integration period should also be taken into account when you're thinking about what it takes to really scale your business and how long it's going to take. It's not just about the build, it's about the integration as well, right? And that's the big piece that we forget about. If you don't do the integration piece, like this is the most valuable piece. Like this is where you're gonna see the change and the results come from all of the work that happened in the building. A lot of business owners will get discouraged and think that their systems didn't work. Well, there's a transition period, right? There's an integration period for all of this to come together. And if you just abandon your systems the second that it doesn't work, or like when you come back from a holiday, you're like, oh, you built all the things, but they don't work. No one's using them. Everything feels crunchy. Everything feels hard. I don't know what I'm doing. Then, you're not really looking at the full scope of the preparation or the scaling process. Keep in mind that there's going to be an adjustment period for you and everyone else on your team, everyone that you're collaborating with, in order to really get on board with all of the new tools, all of the new systems that have really been put into place. All right. And then finally, the biggest mistake that I see a lot of business owners make is that they underestimate what it's going to take to really maintain their systems. Listen, this is not a one and done piece. Preparing your business for scale, setting up your systems, getting the right team members in place, making sure that you have the perfect suite of tech products and tech tools for your system, for your team to use and to really support your system is not a one and done thing, right? Scaling your business really happens in phases. It's not like, oh, I'm building the systems and now I'm at the top of the mountain and all my dreams have come true, right? That would be amazing if it was. And there's certainly things that you can do to help you get there faster, but there's also work that needs to happen to maintain it so that you can stay at the top of the mountain or continue the trek to that next milestone, to that next plateau, to that next level of growth and scale within your business. You need to iterate, right? You need to understand that, hey, the systems that you created, 5 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, they might evolve and change depending on how quickly your business is evolving and changing. Your systems are a great baseline, and the fact that, you go through the build process so that they're ready, you can just do adjustment. That needs to also be maintained, right? Because I don't want you thinking like, oh, she just told me that, that systems are not that important because I'm gonna have to rebuild them every single time. That's not the case. You're building the baseline so that you can scale, and so that when you are at new plateaus and new levels within your business, you're just making adjustments to the underlying foundation instead of like scrapping it and starting all over. But it does require maintenance, right? Those adjustments happen over time as you hit new plateaus. And if you don't ever plan on making adjustments, if you don't ever plan on maintaining your systems or your tools or your team members, well, they will kind of fall apart, right? Like you will outgrow them. The business might move in a different direction. And you want all of these tools to keep pace with you. You want all of these infrastructure pieces to be moving in that same direction. But if you don't actually plan on, having to make these adjustments or, making sure that your tools are still working in the way that you want them to, when you make massive changes to your business, then that is going to be a huge place where you're just going to, you're going to have to restart, right? It'll be a heavier lift because you'll be starting from almost scratch again instead of maintaining something that was built for you, right? So don't underestimate the time, the effort, and what it takes to actually maintain your system. It doesn't have to be a lot, right? It's not the same as like, oh, I need to rebuild everything, but it does require maintenance. So don't forget that piece, because that's where I see a lot of business owners go sideways and realize like, oh, I had a full build done a year or 2 years ago, and I went in a different direction in my business, and we never updated any of our processes to be aligned with that. And now you pretty much have to start over. It's a heavier lift to untangle and rebuild than it is to slowly tweak and adjust along the way, right? So that's where you want to be. You want to slowly tweak and adjust along the way so that it is an easier lift for you, all right? So this also means taking on team members and allowing them to support the process. It's not enough to just build the systems and tools. It's also, well, are you going to run it all by yourself, or do you have people who can help you run these pieces yourself, right? That's another piece where there's underestimating what it takes to maintain it. It's underestimating the resources. There is no such thing as a totally automated business where you run it all by yourself, right? At the end of the day, there's still someone who needs to press the button and kick off the infrastructures. And if that's you, then at a certain place, you will also come to capacity, no matter how much you automate, no matter how much you systemize, no matter how much you lean on your tech tools, you will still become the capacity cap within your business. So know that, hey, there's going to be maintenance, and know that you probably need people to help support this going forward if you ever want the business to be bigger than yourself, if you want it to operate outside of you. All right. So those are the biggest things that I see business owners run into. Those are the biggest challenges, the biggest mistakes, the biggest underestimations that I see that they make within their business when they are preparing their business to scale. But if you are ready to start prepping your business for scale, and you want to hire, you want to have the perfect team, you want to be able to manage your business and your tech and your tools and your system like a confident CEO boss, then you might be a good fit for my VIP systems intensives, right? Apply for a systems assessment call with me, and I will show you how easily it can be. You can scale your business and how you can avoid all of these mistakes at the same time. All right. So the link is in my bio. And until next time, bye guys.